parents, because what we're getting is a case of like a child's point of view, what Ashley and Saiton are sharing with us. But from a parent's point of view, and I think we were discussing this, and even yesterday we were having this discussion where someone was like, yeah, but that is how we were brought up. We were beaten. We were, the parents were very harsh. I could not talk to my dad. I could not talk to my mom about my feelings, about anything. If anything, I would hide, all these things from them. So as a parent, then how do you know that you're being toxic? Like, what does toxic look like from, let's say, a parent's point of view?
So for the most part, the parents who are engaging in toxic behavior are oblivious. They really don't know. They believe that they're doing parenting as it ought to be done.
Okay.
They don't know different. Now, if one is interested in knowing, then they would seek to get the feedback. You see.
Okay.
So ask your child. Ask the people that are near and dear to you and whose feedback you value.
Yeah.
How do I present as a parent?
As a parent, in an African setup.
Yeah, you see, it takes being deliberate, taking the initiative to want to know. Otherwise, it would be that the child is demonstrating the effects of the toxicity.
Yeah.
In the situation where they bring them into therapy, they'll usually come and say, okay, Macreen, this child is A, B, C, D. So when you have the conversation with the child, then you realize that the child is actually exhibiting the issues in the family setup. And the parents are the key contributors to the situation.
Yeah.
So now bringing them into the circle and, helping them to realize that when you do this, it has this effect.
Okay.
And this would be what you could consider in the alternative for the sake of having, a better family relationship. Yeah.
Okay.
But if one doesn't, really take it up upon themselves to want to know, then they won't quite tell until the behavior starts happening,
But
so
how many parents would just sit down and ask their child, so tell me, what kind of a parent am I? Like, and especially in our setup.
Not too many.
Right?
Not too many, I agree. So the alternative is that they'll see the behavior in the children, behavior that they're not happy with.
Okay.
And they'll try to increase the volume or the intensity of their parenting that they are doing, which is not helping, and the child will escalate even further.
Yeah.
So at that point, they'll look for help.
Okay.
So they'll probably go to their religious institutions or to whichever relative that they are close to, and some of them come into therapy. Yeah.
But majority of the parents and even the children themselves, of course, number one, might not have access to therapy because, again, could be expensive and all those things. Or there's some people who outwardly will tell you, why should I involve a third party into my family business?
Yes.
And yet I am the parent in this setup. So really, I know what is best for my child. But then again, yes, nobody teaches you to be a parent, but then again, there's some things that you might notice and think, no, this is not right, and especially from outside looking in. The person themselves might not know, right?
Yeah.
But then again, so how it presents as, toxicity. What is it? Is it a case of maybe like being too demanding of your child? Because we've seen other parents who it's the children who take care of the parent. And for example, for Saiton's case, she said at some point I had to be the caregiver, for this home. And aside from that, like, what are some of the other things that are considered, let's say, toxic?
Okay. So what she mentioned is part of what forms what you call parentification. So where as a child you are pushed into taking roles that would otherwise be undertaken by parents.
The parents
So as a
themselves,
child
yes.
in the family, helping with chores here and there is understandable,
okay,
expected,
yes.
and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But when it becomes your responsibility to the exclusion of child things, then that's a problem, you see. So then it means you can't play before you have cleaned. You can't hang out with your friends, You don't sit to watch TV if TV is there, because you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to whatever. Now, that's problematic. So when a child is parentified, that's problematic.
Yeah.
When there's incessant criticism of what the child is doing, they almost feel like they never get anything right. Yeah?
Yes.
Everything I try to do is wrong. Yeah?
Or does not match up.
Yeah, it doesn't meet expectation.
Yes.
Yeah? So it comes to a point where the child will not even share what their achievements are. They may also not share what their needs are, and they will seek to meet those needs in ways that are not sustainable. So they may still, you know, if the parent is going to complain, you know, you keep asking me for things, the child is growing. Some of them grow pretty fast. So you buy them shoes within the year, they have outgrown the shoes.
Of course, yeah.
And then you blame the child. Yeah? I mean, these shoes are still
I just
new. I
bought
mean,
them
yeah,
just
you keep
recently.
wearing them. So they're wearing shoes that are
Yeah.
not fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah? That they could steal shoes is a possibility, you know. So they're almost thrust into spaces that are not proper.
Yeah.
There are kids who are not allowed to play, interestingly. Their parents don't allow them to play because the parents imagine that the other kids would influence them negatively.
Yeah.
Or if there are such serious things happening in the family, they worry that those kids will go and talk about, they'll tattle. So, hakuna kucheza, home, shule, and
Like,
back.
yeah.
Yeah. And if I hear anything like,
Yeah.
so the kids are living in total fear, you know, so that is also problematic. You find that in the situation of toxicity, the opinion of the child doesn't matter. So if they have a certain preference, it will be dismissed. Yeah? They don't like, you know, going to meet auntie so-and-so or uncle so-and-so, but it has to be that way, you know. They had
Whatever
a plan.
I say goes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, the plans of the child don't matter. They don't count at all.
Yeah.
So such a child grows up feeling like, you know, it really doesn't matter for me to say anything.
Yeah.
There is unmet promises. So I think that was part of her experience, you know, where the parent said, yeah, you'll join me, and she kept being hopeful, hopeful, and then
Yes.
it's not happening, you know. So then the issues of trust come in, because if these are the closest people who I ought to trust and they're not trustworthy, then it means the whole world out there is just like
You cannot
them.
trust them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course there's abuse. Abuse of the kind that she has talked about, and
Yeah.
others verbal, you know, sexual, yeah, all those.